One evening in New York City, Margot Robbie and Leonardo DiCaprio were heading to one of Manhattan's most luxurious hotels after completing their latest film project. They were accompanied by key members of their crew, the director Martin Scorsese, producer Victoria Chen, and several supporting actors and production staff who had worked tirelessly on the film. The Grandeur Hotel was renowned for its elegance and top-notch service, but the events that unfolded that evening would change their perspective on luxury establishments and the people who take their status for granted. Margot was dressed in a classic black dress, while Leo wore an elegant suit. They entered without fanfare, simply seeking to relax after months of intense filming. The project they had just finished, a period drama set in 1920 Chicago, had pushed everyone to their limits, with 18-hour shooting days and emotionally demanding scenes. "I can't believe we actually finished on schedule," Margot whispered to Leo as they approached the hotel entrance, her Australian accent slipping through slightly. "That's all thanks to Martin," Leo replied with a smile. "Though I don't think any of us got more than 4 hours of sleep this past week." None of them could have anticipated that their evening of celebration would turn into a test of patience and dignity. As they entered the hotel, several eyes turned in their direction. Guests pretended not to stare while stealing glances at the recognizable faces. The team approached the front desk where a young woman stood behind the counter, looking extremely cold and detached. The receptionist didn't even lift her eyes as they approached and simply asked, "How can I help you?" Her voice was flat and unwelcoming. Leonardo stepped forward with a genuine smile. "Good evening. We have a reservation for the DiCaprio party. 7 rooms, including the Wellington suite." The young woman, still not looking up from her screen, coldly replied, "Sorry, but we don't have any available rooms right now. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at another hotel." Victoria Chen stepped forward, her producer instincts kicking in. "There must be some mistake. I confirmed this reservation personally this morning with your reservation manager, Mr. Daniels. We've also placed a substantial deposit. Could you please check again under DiCaprio?" The staff member showed no interest in their explanation. She simply turned her back to retrieve a folder, flipped through it with exaggerated slowness, and added, "Maybe you should try another hotel. The Plaza is just a few blocks away. I'm sure they can accommodate your type of group." While the confrontation at the front desk continued, another uncomfortable situation was developing in the hotel's exclusive lounge area just off the main lobby. Rachel Kim, one of the film's talented costume designers, had separated from the group to take an urgent call from her family in Seoul. After finishing her call, she decided to wait in the lounge until the check-in issues were resolved. As Rachel sat quietly checking her emails, a smartly dressed hotel employee approached her with an air of suspicion. "Excuse me, miss," the staff member said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "This area is reserved for hotel guests only. The public waiting area is by the main entrance." Rachel looked up, momentarily confused. "I'm with the DiCaprio party. We're checking in now." The employee's expression remained skeptical. "I'm afraid I'll need to see proof of that. Do you have a room key or reservation confirmation?" "Our group is still at the front desk getting everything sorted," Rachel explained calmly. "I'm the costume designer for the film we just completed." A couple seated nearby exchanged uncomfortable glances as the employee continued, "Without proof, I'll have to ask you to move to the public area. This lounge is for our premium guests only." Before Rachel could respond, Martin Scorsese entered the lounge, having noticed Rachel's absence from the group. His face darkened as he quickly assessed the situation. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, his voice carrying the natural authority of someone used to directing large production teams. "Sir, I was just explaining to this person that our exclusive lounge is for verified hotel guests only," the employee explained with forced politeness. Scorsese's eyes narrowed. This person is Rachel Kim, one of the most talented costume designers in the film industry. Her work just earned us consideration for multiple awards. And she's absolutely part of our group. The employee's demeanor shifted instantly. I apologize for the misunderstanding, sir. Of course, Ms. Kim is welcome to enjoy our facilities. The apology should be directed to Ms. Kim, not to me, Scorsese replied firmly. The staff member mumbled a half-hearted apology to Rachel before quickly retreating. Scorsese sat down across from Rachel with a sigh. This place is really testing my patience tonight, he said. Leonardo and Victoria are still trying to sort out our rooms. Shall we rejoin them? As they walked back to the lobby, Rachel spoke quietly. Thank you, Martin. That happens more often than you'd think. It shouldn't happen at all, Scorsese replied, his voice a mix of frustration and resolve. Meanwhile, back at the reception desk, the confrontation about their reservations continued to escalate. As the confrontation at the reception desk intensified, a clearly intoxicated hotel guest approached from the bar area. He was swaying slightly, an almost empty whiskey glass clutched in his hand. His eyes widened with recognition when he spotted Margot. Well, if it isn't the famous Margot Robbie, he slurred loudly, drawing unwanted attention from everyone in the lobby. I paid good money to see your last movie, and I want my money back. The man staggered closer to Margot, invading her personal space. The strong smell of alcohol hit her as he leaned in uncomfortably close. How about you make it up to me with an autograph, or something more? Margot took a calculated step back, maintaining her composure despite the clear threat in the man's tone. Leonardo immediately moved to stand between them, but the drunk man shoved him aside with surprising force. I'm not talking to you, DiCaprio, the man snarled. I'm talking to the lady. The man suddenly lunged forward, his hand raised as if to grab Margot's arm or worse. In a split second, Margot, drawing on her stunt training from various action roles, sidestepped the man's attempt, using his own momentum to redirect him away from her. The man stumbled, caught off balance by his failed attempt and Margot's defensive maneuver. James Reynolds, the cinematographer, and two other crew members immediately stepped in, forming a protective barrier around Margot while the hotel security, who had been conspicuously absent during the check-in dispute, finally appeared. Sir, you need to leave immediately, one security guard said firmly, taking the man by the arm. Do you know who I am? The drunk man shouted as he was escorted toward the exit. My father owns 3 hotels in this city. You can't treat me like this. The receptionist and manager, who had watched the entire scene unfold without intervening, now looked even more uncomfortable. Their earlier dismissive treatment seemed especially egregious in light of their failure to protect guests from harassment. Margot, though visibly shaken, maintained her poise. Thank you, she said quietly to her colleagues who had stepped in to help. Victoria turned back to the hotel staff, her expression harder than before. So your hotel not only refuses legitimate reservations but also allows guests to harass and attempt to assault other patrons? This is completely unacceptable. Just as it seemed the situation couldn't become more tense, another incident unfolded near the hotel's grand staircase. Anthony Martinez, the film's talented sound engineer, was returning from parking their equipment van in the hotel's designated area. Anthony, carrying several cases of delicate audio equipment, approached the service elevator as instructed by the valet. Before he could reach it, a hotel staff member intercepted him with a stern expression. Deliveries go through the back entrance, the employee stated coldly, blocking Anthony's path. Service providers are not permitted to use the main areas of the hotel. Anthony, who had been working 18-hour days for weeks, took a deep breath before responding. I'm not a delivery person. I'm with the DiCaprio film crew checking in now. This is our equipment. The staff member looked Anthony up and down, taking in his casual clothes, practical attire after a day of wrapping equipment, and made an immediate judgment. Sir, I don't care whose name you drop. Staff and service providers used the service entrance around the back, the employee insisted, louder this time, drawing attention from nearby guests. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises immediately and return through the proper channels. Anthony stood his ground. I'm not leaving. Call the front desk and ask for Victoria Chen or Leonardo DiCaprio. They'll confirm I'm part of their party. Security, the staff member called out instead, completely ignoring Anthony's reasonable request. 2 security guards approached quickly. Before the situation could escalate further, James Reynolds spotted the confrontation from across the lobby and hurried over. Anthony. There you are, James called out, his British accent cutting through the tension. We were wondering where you'd gone. The security guards hesitated as James approached, recognizing him from earlier. This man claims to be with your party, sir, the hotel employee said, their tone softening considerably. He was attempting to bring these items through the main hotel area. James looked between the cases of equipment and the staff with disbelief. Of course he's with us. Anthony Martinez is our sound engineer and has been an integral part of our production. These items are worth more than your annual salary and contain our film's audio recordings. One of the security guards, seeming to recognize the seriousness of the situation, stepped forward. I apologize for the confusion, gentlemen. Please, allow me to escort you both to the front desk to meet with the rest of your party. As they walked away, James muttered to Anthony, this place is unbelievable. First Rachel in the lounge, now you. Rachel too? Anthony asked, shaking his head. What's going on with this hotel? I don't know, James replied grimly, but I don't think we'll be staying here again. Back at the reception desk, the situation with their rooms remained unresolved. James and Anthony arrived just as Leonardo was beginning to lose his patience. James Reynolds, the cinematographer who had spent weeks filming in challenging locations, stepped forward. His patience had worn thin after months of early call times and technical challenges. Excuse me, but this is a mistake. We have a reservation. We just want confirmation. They all tried to remain polite, but it was clear something wasn't right. The receptionist's behavior seemed deliberately obstructive rather than merely incompetent. Victoria was already scrolling through emails to find the confirmation she had received earlier. Leonardo, who usually maintained his composure in public, began to feel his patience wearing thin. However, instead of reacting emotionally, he chose to handle it calmly. Listen, he said, his voice low but firm, we have confirmation. We made a booking, and you should check again. We just want the same service as any other guest here. But instead of verifying the information, the staff member continued to look uninterested. She didn't even glance at the reservation confirmation that Victoria was now holding up on her phone screen. Margot, who had remained quiet until now, finally spoke up. Is there someone else we could speak to? Perhaps your manager or Mr. Daniels from reservations? The young woman finally looked up, her expression indifferent. Mr. Daniels is off today. And the manager is very busy with important guests. The implication that they weren't important guests hung in the air. A few minutes later, the manager appeared from a door marked "Private" behind the reception area. He was a middle-aged man in an impeccable suit and dark sunglasses despite being indoors. His gaze was cold as he approached the counter. I hear there's a problem. How can I help? He said, exuding detachment. Victoria explained the situation regarding their confirmed reservation that was apparently not being honored. The manager gave a cursory glance at the computer screen, not bothering to actually read what was displayed. His body language suggested he had already made his decision. Leonardo spoke up firmly, we have a reservation. We're part of the film crew that's been shooting in the city for the past month, and we're being refused service without explanation. This is unacceptable by any standard, let alone for an establishment with your reputation. The manager leaned closer to the receptionist, whispered something that made her smirk, and then turned back to the group. "We don't have rooms available for such guests," he said vaguely. "The hotel is currently at capacity with our regular clientele. Maybe you should consider another hotel. I can have our doorman hail taxis for you." It became clear this wasn't just a technical issue, it was a blatant attempt to discriminate against them because of their celebrity status. Perhaps the hotel staff didn't want to deal with high-profile guests who might draw attention or require extra privacy measures. Martin Scorsese finally spoke up. "I've stayed in hotels all over the world while filming. I've never encountered this kind of treatment. Not in Rome, not in Tokyo, not even in places where they didn't know who I was. This is New York City. We expect better." The situation had reached a tipping point. Victoria was already on the phone with the production company's legal team, speaking in hushed but urgent tones. Leonardo, though known for his professionalism and restraint, recognized when a stand needed to be taken. He lost his patience and, without raising his voice but with clear intensity, said, "This isn't just a mistake. You're deliberately refusing to serve us. This is not only rude, it's unethical and potentially illegal. We want our rooms, which we have already paid for, and you'll give them to us. Otherwise, I'll be forced to escalate this matter beyond this conversation." The controlled force of his words seemed to physically push the manager back a step. Margot stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with her colleague. "We're not asking for anything special. Just what's rightfully ours. I want to know why we're being treated like this when we've done nothing to warrant it." The confrontation had drawn attention from other guests in the lobby. A young man held up his phone, clearly recording the exchange. "This is going straight to social media. The grandeur needs to be held accountable." Victoria ended her call and approached the manager directly. "Our legal team has just informed me that refusing service without valid reason could constitute discriminatory practice. They're prepared to file a formal complaint with the New York Hotel Association within the hour if this isn't resolved." The manager's sunglasses couldn't hide the flicker of alarm that crossed his face. Finally, the manager realized that the situation was escalating beyond his control and could seriously affect the hotel's reputation. He removed his sunglasses, revealing eyes that darted nervously around the lobby at the witnesses. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding," he said, his tone suddenly conciliatory. "Let me check our system more thoroughly." He moved behind the reception desk and began typing on the computer. After a few minutes, his expression changed to one of forced surprise. "Please accept our sincere apologies for this misunderstanding," he said, his voice now dripping with courtesy that had been notably absent earlier. "It appears there was a system error that prevented your reservation from displaying correctly. I will personally ensure you get the best accommodations in the hotel." He quickly disappeared through the private door and returned with an older man, presumably Mr. Daniels from reservations, who looked genuinely mortified by the situation. "We deeply apologize for the unprofessional service you've experienced," Mr. Daniels said. "We've prepared the Wellington suite for Mr. DiCaprio and Ms. Robbie as requested, and your rooms are all on the same floor as arranged. Additionally, we would like to offer complimentary dining in our restaurant for your entire party this evening." The manager added, practically bowing, "And of course, we've upgraded everyone to our premium suites at no additional charge. It was simply a misunderstanding, a terrible error in our system." Margot and Leonardo exchanged knowing glances, recognizing the damage control for what it was. Nevertheless, they accepted the apology calmly. "Thank you for resolving this," Leonardo said simply, accepting the room keys. As they headed to the elevators, Martin fell into step beside Leonardo. "That was handled well," the director said quietly. "There's a scene like this in our next project. Mind if I take notes?" Leo chuckled, the tension breaking. Art imitating life, as usual. This incident became an important reminder for all involved: no one should be judged by their appearance, status, or celebrity. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, especially in places that claim to offer first-class service. In the months that followed, the story circulated within the industry, prompting other celebrities to share similar experiences of discrimination. The Grandeur Hotel, without directly acknowledging the incident, launched a new staff training program focused on inclusive service practices. For Margot and Leonardo, the situation wasn't just a test of patience, but a moment that strengthened their understanding of how small acts of injustice make a difference. They realized that every situation, even a difficult one, is an opportunity to make the world a better place by standing firm on principles of equality and respect. As Leonardo later reflected, true luxury isn't about exclusive access or special treatment, it's about treating every person with the same level of respect and dignity, regardless of who they are or where they come from. That's not just good service, it's good humanity. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video and learned a lesson so that this does not happen to you again. I would be grateful for your likes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and comment on the video. See you soon.